Yeah, you read that right. Hillary Clinton is going to jail because the documents that have been exposed in the last 24 hours, well, basically prove that she was the one who ordered the Russia collusion hoax against Donald Trump in the 2016 campaign. So we have a front row seat to watch all the instances in which she very publicly talked about these matters, knowing that, well, she was lying, so we can see all the details of a liar in plain and perfect action. But before we begin, we need some background to this so you can understand what is going on. Newly declassified appendix to the Durham report released on July 31 by Senator Chuck Grassley reveals evidence suggesting Hillary Clinton personally approved a 2016 campaign plan to falsely link Donald Trump to Russian collusion as a distraction from her email scandal, with the FBI allegedly failing to thoroughly investigate the claims despite knowing their dubious claims or origins. So, holy shit, Hillary Clinton approved of the plan of creating fake Russia hoax, and you can see these documents everywhere on the internet, but we're gonna read the first few lines. Hillary Rodham Clinton approved Julia's idea about Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections that should distract people from her own missing email, especially if the affair goes to the Olympic level. Yeah, this is a real document released by the FBI, very freshly released by the FBI. And FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed the declassification exposes Clinton's role in orchestrating the hoax, promising more to come in revelations, including attempts by the FBI to destroy related evidence in burn bags, and involvement from Obama-era officials like John Brennan and James Clapper, who are now in damage control mode. Everyone is lawyering up right now. Everyone is afraid of going to jail, but all of this nasty people are going to jail. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt condemned Clinton following the release, calling it proof of the greatest political hoax in American history, while conservative commentators like Trey Gowdy suggested alternatives to prison, such as public shaming or historical accountability for those involved. Why not both? Why not both? Both could be fine. The revelations have sparked a widespread online discussion, with phrases like "arrest Hillary" trending on X and calls for freezing assets of organizations like the Open Society Foundations amid allegations of George Soros' involvement in the plot and related Ukraine color revolutions. Oh my God, this is as deep as the rabbit hole goes. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released related documents on July 30, providing a whistleblower's account of threats and obstructed reporting on the Russia hoax within the intelligence community, tying into broader claims of CIA and FBI weaponization against Trump. So you can imagine that Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard are attacking from both angles at the same time, and that's what has the Clintons just shaking in their boots. And so we have here this videos shared by Colin Rogg. New Hillary Clinton approved the plan hatched by her top campaign advisor to smear Trump with fake claims of Russian collusion, according to newly declassified files. And Scott Adams mentioned that watching the video of Clinton lying when you know that she's lying is a good lesson on lie detection, which is what we are about to watch. Notice the liar face through gout, and this is the first clip.
I think that there is a lot to investigate, and I'm personally very grateful that somebody of the stature of Robert Mueller would be there conducting this investigation. He's a totally straight arrow guy.
Again, you have to imagine that she knew that she was the one who green-lighted this hoax, this lie, this fabrication, and she was there on The View. Not that The View has a lot of reputation, but it was there on a very public platform saying that, oh, this should be investigated. She was imagine the the kidneys this woman has to have. I don't know how to say that in English.
Straight arrow guy. I mean, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. And I really believe that he will be honest and transparent and tell us whatever it is he finds. But as I say in the book, and I try to explain what bothers me, there's just too many connections to be called just coincidences. There just are. And, you know, some of it is financial entanglements, and some of it is hunting for, you know, negative information about me, and some of it is calling, you know, people and trying to hide the connections and the meetings and the calls and all of that. All of that has gone on. Now, there's a lot of smoke.
That is important. There's a lot of smoke because when you fabricate a story, you want to make sure that there are enough loose ends so people waste time taking a look at everything. Because you want the fabrication to have an impact on a person's reputation, in this case Donald Trump in 2016. But at the same time, you want people to not be able to get to the deep end of it because, well, you know that if they reach the deep end, they're gonna find you. So it's incredibly, it's that she's talking about all this smoke and mirrors, all this, you know, all this dubious stuff. It was by design. It was by design from her team and green-lighted by her, nonetheless. So imagine the kind of person that you have to be, not only to make the ball start rolling, but be on national TV in front of the cameras speaking like this, like nothing happens. And I'm going to tell you, with all my years of body language analysis, I try to spot if there is anything suspicious about the way that she's talking, and I see her usual body language baseline. I am not saying that she's lying all the time, because that is nonsensical. Hillary Clinton couldn't be lying all the time, but we know that she's lying right now, and I see her speaking with the same vocal frequency. Her blinking doesn't change. She is clearly composed. I mean, this is borderline psychopathic. I cannot diagnose her, of course, from a video, but this is basically a psychopathic trait, to be able to lie like this with such perfection in front of, well, millions.
And whether or not there's fire, we need to figure it out. But here is what's important. Put the investigation into Trump, his associates, and everybody else to one side. There is no denying that the Russians interfered in the election.
Right.
Notice that she made up that narrative. She made up that narrative herself. And she has just said, there is no denying that Russians interfered in the elections via Donald Trump. Like Donald Trump is some kind of assets of the Russians. And well, now we know that none of that is true. And not only that none of that is true, we knew that that was a hoax from a long time ago. But now we are confirming that it was Hillary Clinton, the one at the head of that hoax. So that's why I'm telling you, she's going to jail.
There is no denying that the Russians interfered in the election.
Right.
Whether or not they had willing or unwitting help from the Trump team.
Notice that she makes sure to cover her tracks to make it not so obvious. Oh, whether if they had or didn't have help from the Trump team.
Whether or not they had willing or
unwitting help.
Unwitting help from the Trump team.
So the Russians interfere, but she leaves some kind of sliver of opportunity of maybe Trump didn't know that he was being a puppet for the Russians.
They interfered, and they did so to help him and hurt me, and they did so to destabilize our democracy, and they have not stopped.
That's it. That's no signal that she's lying. She's really good at lying. If you want to know how to lie convincingly, you have to study this video over and over again. Just watch Hillary Clinton speaking and make sure that you mimic the way that she speaks. Completely confident, doesn't change anything. There's no emotional reactions that one could say This woman is a master at her work.
What's not clear from your book is whether you think that the Trump campaign was colluding in this.
We don't know the answer to that. That is part of what is being explored.
Notice that when you want to have, that's a smoke screen to make people doubt what their eyes and ears are listening, what they are getting from the press, you make sure to make it, the fog of war, make it foggy, make it ambiguous. We still don't know if that was the case, but we do know that the Russians were on this.
There are some serious questions, because what happened when the emails of my campaign manager, John Podesta, were stolen by the Russian intelligence services?
This is important to remember that all this, the most important thing was to serve as a cover-up for her own missing emails. That is the most important thing. It was this personal interest, let's say that more than hurting Trump, but it would help her in the long run. But the most important thing was to cover up for her own missing emails.
Then they were conveyed to WikiLeaks, which is basically now a mouthpiece for Russia.
WikiLeaks is a mouthpiece for Russia whenever it's convenient.
Authoritarianism. And then they were released on the very same day that the Hollywood Access tape came out showing Trump, bragging about sexual assault. Then they were what we call weaponized, so that they were turned into phony news stories, they were turned into Facebook posts, and then they were targeted at specific voters. The question is, where did the Russians get that kind of targeting information?
Notice that she asks those rhetorical questions and makes you think maybe Trump was cooperating with them after all. That is just a hypothetical that she leaves in the air to make people think about that. That is a strategy. That's a kind of an indirect gaslighting or indirect manipulation. I would say that manipulation because that is not actually gaslighting.
And, that is one of the unanswered questions that investigators in Congress and the special counsel are looking into.
The Russian government has engaged in espionage against Americans. They have hacked American websites, American accounts of private people, of institutions. Then they have given that information to WikiLeaks.
One thing that I want to make it clear, I am not saying that Russia has never tried to hack or has never hacked anything in American soil. They most likely have done that, but Hillary wants to make it seem like the reason they did that was to help Trump. That is the framing, that is the narrative that she wants to push.
For the purpose of putting it on the internet. This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election. So I actually think the most important question of this evening, Chris, is finally, will Donald Trump admit and condemn that the Russians are doing this, and make it clear that he will not have the help of Putin in this election, that he rejects Russian espionage against Americans, which he actually encouraged.
He actually encouraged the espionage of Russians, so, according to Hillary.
In the past. Those are the questions we need answered. We've never had anything like this happen in any of our elections before.
I mean, if you're going to let Russia get away with what they did, and are still doing, according to Christopher Wray, the current FBI director, who said that last week, they're in our election systems. We're worried about 2020, he said. So, hey, let's have a great power contest, and let's get the Chinese in on the side of somebody else. Why are, other Americans basically believing?
If you put the Chinese in, put the Venezuelans in as well. Add Maduro to the list. It's like a grocery shopping bag.
Putin. Why did Trump believe Putin more than our 11 intelligence agencies?
I don't know. Do you have a working theory?
I do have a working theory. And why is Donald Trump so enamored of Putin?
Well, part of it is he's a wannabe dictator. He has told us that repeatedly. He even said the other day, let's basically get out of NATO and, encourage Putin to do what he wants to do. How absurd a statement that is cannot even be measured, because you are essentially giving a green light to a murderous, brutal.
Yeah, and you have nice pin you have in there, Hillary. Nice pin you have in there. Oh, how wonderful! How wonderful! You are going to jail. If there's so many things that I want to say about this. But the most baffling, the most important is it's incredible. I'm going to emphasize this. I'm going to say this again. It's incredible the ability of Hillary Clinton to lie. And again, if you want a better example of someone lying to your face, to many faces, to every journalist, to every person that was in the room with her and to the cameras, you have no better example than this video. You can just come back to this video and witness how a psychopathic liar does their best job. But again, I would like to know what do you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Body Language Guy. Remember to download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. Much love and bliss.